So I was scrolling across TikTok as one does, and I was looking at the very majestic and poetic TikTok trend of where by the one, the only Rihanna. And I was seeing banger after banger. I'm talking Demon Slayer. I'm talking Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm talking literally anything and everything. It was a black hole. And I kept scrolling, and then eventually I saw something that seemed really interesting. A movie by the name of Your Name. I immediately wrote it down in my media to watch list, and I was set to come back to it a couple weeks later. So yesterday I finally watched Your Name, and I have a lot to say. Genuinely, I think it's one of my favorite movies that I've ever seen. And I think that first off is because of the very Studio Ghibli-ish animation, in the sense that it's very artistic. You can tell they put a lot of time into it, but they also added a 3D dynamic, which I haven't really seen done before in this Studio Ghibli film genre. And it really made me interested. It seemed kind of like a video game cutscene-ish, but with a lot more depth and detail and perspective with each of these specific scenes. So in that regard, it automatically entranced me and captured my attention. But the story is something that's very nuanced. I don't think that has been explored before. It's about a girl and a boy who are both switching bodies with each other whenever they dream. And basically it's a girl in the countryside who always wants to live in Tokyo, the main city, and it's a dude that lives in Tokyo who doesn't necessarily want to live in the countryside, but he kind of wants to escape his reality and do something else. And the movie explores the dynamic as they shift personas and shift personalities and have to deal with the life consequences of it, both positive and negative. Now, honestly, this trope has been done before. I think the thing that made this so special was that they added a really interesting nuance and trick to it. Without giving too much away, I just want to say that while they were switching bodies and living in each other's bodies, the time scale is not exactly lined up. And that's something that I thought was really cool and adds a lot to the plot, as it's not just a linear A and B narrative. But when the big reveal is made, then you finally get to understand the gravity of each of the decisions, and that this isn't just a magical story, but there's a lot more lore and depth to it than at face value. I think that I had such a great time watching this because it made me reflect on any dreams that I've had and be like, wait, have I ever dreamed that I was in someone else's body? Like, could this actually be possible? Could this be true? I think it's a really interesting concept, as there are over 7 billion people in the world right now, maybe 8, and it's like, what if when I'm dreaming, I'm actually just controlling someone else's body? But I think that the way that they go about it and kind of give little hints about, the reality of the situation in this world is that obviously it's a lot different than real life, and that's not something that would happen. But again, I feel like it always is such a cool concept to think of, as dreams are something that we don't know too much about. In fact, it's something that a lot of people are still pondering and making hypotheses about what is actually happening. And when you look at, the MCU, and they have a film like Multiverse of Madness, where when you're dreaming, you're actually walking in the body of someone else in a different universe. And while this is a lot different because the two characters are in the same world, but I'm really curious as I continue to explore more movies like this, why they differ and how they differ from the current Hollywood Western films. In fact, I just saw a stat the other day that anime films are actually having better gross revenues than Hollywood films. Namely, over the summer we had the release of Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, as well as the release of Fantastic Four and Superman. Now, those two latter movies are extremely big giants that perform well at the box office, and the fact that Demon Slayer is doing better than both of those says a lot. And I feel like that asks for a greater conversation and thinking and pondering about why do people love the Japanese culture so much, and why do people love this manga anime culture as well. And I think it has something to do with the creativity of this genre. Usually when it comes to Hollywood, we've seen more often than not, they're doing reboots and seconds and sequels of previous existing movies and whatnot. But these Japanese animated films are completely original, bringing a new creative flavor and balance to something that we've gotten kind of stale and bored with. So I am super curious and want to watch more of these movies, such as Your Name. I know that there's a couple other by the same director, which I'll have to do my research and come back with once I see them. Please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, I will see you next time.